One of the most requested videos I get is the life of Katara, so I finally buckled down and decided to take on this huge task of going over her entire timeline from her childhood to her teenage years to her adult life and finally to her later life. This will include all manner of Avatar content, and there's so much past just the original show, and I've put it all together to make one cohesive timeline, a lot of which even includes scenes during the time of the original show but that did not make it into the 3 books. Before we start, I'm trying to grow my footprint on other social medias besides just YouTube, so it would be awesome if you guys could follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I tweet about your favorite fandoms like Harry Potter, Avatar, Star Wars, Marvel, Hunger Games, and so much more. And you can see behind the scenes movie flame stuff on Instagram, and just some of my personal life like my dog Loki, who is the cutest dog in the world, and just some fun posts on both platforms. All of my social media platforms as well as my Patreon are linked below for easy access. If you want, give me a follow. If not, that's totally fine. So now, let's get the video started. Katara was born to Hakoda and Kaya in the Southern Water Tribe, which at the time of her birth had been diminished to a very small village after many Fire Nation raids. During those raids, the Fire Nation captured all waterbenders, so when Katara was born, she was the only waterbender in the tribe. Katara faced the reality of her tribe's dwindling strength from an early age, but luckily, after so many raids, the Fire Nation no longer saw them as a threat, meaning they were left alone for the first 8 years of Katara's life. Katara grew up in a loving family, and she was very close with her older brother Sokka, though like all siblings, they argued quite a bit. When she was young, Katara was given a necklace from her mother, who had had it passed down from Katara's grandmother, and Katara cherished that necklace for the rest of her life, especially after the trauma she would soon face. One day, Katara's mother woke her up early and she was very excited, telling Katara that the snow had stopped and that the sun was out. As they stood looking out over the village, Kaya said to Katara that the village looked brand new, and Katara replied saying it was more beautiful than anything she'd ever seen. One day, however, Katara's world was turned upside down. The Fire Nation returned for the first time in many years after hearing that there was another waterbender among the Southern Water Tribe. There was a battle that Katara's father fought in to hold the Fire Nation off, and Katara ran to find shelter with her mother. However, when she got there, the leader of the raid, Yan-Ra, was in the igloo with Kaya. Realizing the intentions of Yan-Ra, who had demanded Kaya to tell him the identity of the last waterbender, Kaya told Katara to leave, and to protect her daughter, she gave herself up, saying that she was the last waterbender. Katara ran to get her father, but by the time they got back to the igloo, Yan-Ra had left, and their mother had been killed. Katara, along with Sokka and her father, buried Kaya in the Southern Water Tribe, and the death of her mother had a profound impact on Katara, changing the person she was, and it drove her to have a deep hatred and resentment toward the Fire Nation. The absence of a mother figure in the family made Katara take on that role, and she took on many of the domestic responsibilities expected of women in their tribe, despite being so young. To make things even worse, when Katara was about 12, Hakoda, Katara and Sokka's father, left to fight in the war, and the two of them were watched by their grandmother. Though Gran was there for them, Katara was left feeling traumatized and alone. With the tribe made up of 0 men, only boys who were not old enough to fight in the war yet, Katara took on even more responsibilities with the tribe, helping out not only her family, but others as well. One day while on a fishing trip with Sokka, Katara got angry and accidentally waterbended some ice, which led to the discovery of Aang, who was the Avatar who had been missing for 100 years, though Katara and Sokka did not know this at the time. They discovered who he was when the Fire Nation arrived, led by Zuko, who was determined to find the Avatar. Aang gave himself up to save the tribe, but Katara knew that it was up to them to save him. Sokka and Katara went to rescue Aang, though it was more of them just picking him up as they saw his true power in the Avatar state. As they were flying away, the 3 of them decided to journey to the North Pole so that Aang could master waterbending, and Aang said that Katara could learn it alongside him. First they journeyed to the Southern Air Temple, and while there, Aang discovered his home in ruins and those he loved dead. He went into the Avatar state, and he was unable to control himself until Katara talked him down and held him afterwards, letting Aang know that they were there for him. Later on in their journey, they stopped in an Earth Kingdom town where all of the Earthbenders had been captured. They met one boy who had not yet been captured named Haru, and after Katara convinced him to earthbend to save someone, Haru was arrested as well. To save him, Katara made it look like she was an earthbender so that she would be captured as well, and while in a metal boat prison, she tried to encourage the earthbenders to fight back, giving them something to bend. Though it didn't work initially, the earthbenders eventually rose up, inspired by Katara's speech and determination. Haru and his father were freed thanks to Katara, and they thanked her, saying that they could not have done it without her. While on the metal ship, Katara lost her mother's necklace, which was then acquired by Zuko, who had been going after them during their whole journey, still determined to capture the Avatar. One day when Katara was shopping, she saw some kids throw water balloons at people walking by. She decided to have some fun, and she walked by knowing that they would drop some on her, and when they did, she waterbended the balloon and sent them flying back at the kids. She then used some water from a nearby barrel to pull them to the window, and she let the town laugh at them after all the trouble they caused, something that made the crowd cheer. One day, Katara stole a waterbending scroll from pirates, obsessed with trying to master her waterbending, but it led to them being chased by the pirates and allowed Zuko to get the better of her. He showed her the necklace and tried to use it as leverage, but luckily Team Avatar was able to escape both the pirates and Zuko thanks to Appa. One day when Katara was picking berries, she heard somebody scream for help, and she ran toward the screaming and found a village being burned to the ground. She found the man who had screamed, who was with his daughter, and they were both being pushed around by Fire Nation soldiers. Katara ordered them to let them go, holding a significant amount of water over her head, threatening and trying to scare the soldiers. When they refused, she took both soldiers out with her waterbending and sent the rest of the soldiers running, clearly showing how much the waterbending scroll had helped her. She then put out all the fires as Aang and Sokka arrived. The man and his daughter named Cho that she had just saved came up to her and thanked her. He explained how the Fire Nation had raided them months ago and rounded up all of their earthbenders, meaning they had no way to defend themselves, just like the town Haru had been part of. They then invited Katara, Aang, and Sokka to dinner, and Katara said that they would be honored to join them. While at dinner, the man's wife thanked Katara as well, and they revealed their daughter's skill at origami. Cho showed them her room, which was filled with hundreds of origami designs, and Katara, Sokka, and Aang were very impressed. Katara then got into a serious conversation with Cho after Cho said that Katara didn't have to wait around for hope like herself and her father because she was the one out there saving the world. But Katara told her that she had to wait and hope for things to get better all the time, and she explained how she had to stay optimistic even when things were scary or seemed impossible. She told the girl about the burden she held because Katara made it her job to give Aang hope, Sokka hope, and give hope to all the people that they met along their journey. She then said that you can't fight a war alone, and that hope is more powerful than you might think, and Katara even admitted that she wished she had more of it sometimes. When they were leaving, the family sent them on their way with food and supplies, and Cho spoke up talking to Katara. She thanked Katara for showing her that fighting isn't the only way to help people, and that just simply having hope can make a huge difference. She then gave Katara a special origami design that she made for her. She told her that it was a symbol of luck and peace, and said that as Katara works for peace, she hoped this would give her protection, luck, and of course, hope. Katara was so touched that she hugged Cho and said goodbye. The team later met Jet and the Freedom Fighters, and Katara took a liking to Jet, which clouded her judgment and made her take Jet's side over Sokka's, a decision that almost saw the destruction of an innocent town at the hands of Jet. Luckily, Sokka came through and saved the town and made Katara see that she was wrong about Jet. Katara used waterbending to hold Jet down, and she left him, angry with both him and herself for trusting him. When Katara met a fortune teller, she was told that she would end up with someone who was a very powerful bender, and after seeing Aang use his bending to fight a whole volcano single-handedly, she saw Aang in a whole new light. Katara and Sokka were very excited when Bato, one of their father's friends, appeared, and they realized how much they missed home. Though they were offered to see their father, they knew they had to say no because their mission was to get Aang to the North Pole. When they found themselves face to face with Zuko again, they just narrowly escaped, and as they were flying away, Aang surprised Katara with her necklace that he had retrieved from Zuko. Later on in their journey, Aang accidentally burned Katara while firebending, and she realized that she had the rare waterbending ability to heal, being able to heal the burns on her hands when she put them in the water. When Team Avatar finally reached the North Pole, Katara was enraged to find out that the waterbending master named Pakku only taught boys. However, Aang and Katara found a loophole, and Aang taught Katara everything he had learned from Pakku. But when they were caught, Pakku refused to teach Aang any longer. Katara was asked to apologize, but she refused and challenged Pakku to a fight. She of course did not stand a chance, but despite a lot of effort from the waterbending master, he was unable to knock Katara down, showing her true strength and resilience. She went on to lose the fight, but when Pakku saw Katara's necklace, which had fallen off, he recognized it as the one that he had made and given to Katara's grandmother to marry him before Gran ran away to the south. Seeing this, and seeing how strong Katara was, he agreed to train her, and she became the best student he had ever had. She mastered waterbending in a very short amount of time, and surpassed Aang by miles. While they were in the Northern Water Tribe, it was attacked by the Fire Nation, and Katara dueled Zuko, and he realized that she had gotten a lot better. However, he got the upper hand when the sun came out, giving his firebending an extra boost, and he kidnapped Aang. They eventually found him, and this time around, Katara defeated Zuko. The invasion ended when Aang went into the Avatar state and wiped out the whole army, and afterwards, Team Avatar went on their way. Before leaving, Katara said goodbye to Pakku, who gave her some water from the Spirit Oasis, which had unique properties. Pakku then told Aang that Katara, his prodigy student, was his new waterbending teacher. When Katara and Aang were trapped in the Cave of Two Lovers, the two kissed, which led them to their way out. Team Avatar eventually got one new member when they added Toph, Aang's new earthbending teacher. However, Katara and Toph did not get along very well, but they eventually learned to put their feelings aside, and they became friends, Katara even giving Toph advice on how best to train Aang. One night while they were sleeping, Aang started sleep bending, and Katara tried to wake him up, but while she was waterbending, Aang airbended, sending her water whip in the direction of Toph. His bending got so bad that it caused an avalanche, and Katara along with Sokka and Toph had to run to avoid the rocks. When Aang woke up, the three of them stared at him very annoyed. One day when Katara and Toph saw a huge crowd, they went to see what the commotion was, and they found Sokka claiming to be the Avatar and using Aang to make it look like he could airbend. When Katara and Toph were called as Avatar servants, Sokka pulled them aside and begged them to make it look like he could waterbend and earthbend. Katara agreed, but when she did this, she made the water smack Sokka in the head so he'd look stupid. Sokka was then captured by the rough rhinos who had thought he was the Avatar, and Katara along with Aang and Toph had to run over to save him. One day while they were cleaning themselves in a river, Toph refused to take a bath despite Katara's constant nagging. Katara then took it into her own hands and dragged Toph toward the river, but as she did this, Toph earthbended a rock right in front of Katara, forcing her to run into it face first. This made Katara angry, and she waterbended Toph into the air and threw her into the river, finally getting her clean. However, when Toph screamed that she couldn't swim, Katara pushed the water aside, and Toph landed in the mud, getting even more dirty than before and getting the rest of them splattered in mud as well. When the gang flew into a storm, they were thrown off of Appa, and Katara and Sokka landed with each other in the woods where they were ambushed by a bunch of thugs. When one of them grabbed Katara, she waterbended, making him fly back, and Katara and Sokka ran toward a river. While there, Katara waterbended a huge wave and forced them to give the stuff that they had stolen from them back. When one took a step forward at them though, Katara doused all of them, sending them flying back, soaked, humiliated, and bruised up. Katara and Sokka then went to look for Toph and Aang, and they climbed toward a tower on top of a huge mountain of rocks. While they were climbing up, they were interrupted by an earthbender who took them the rest of the way up, and up there they found Toph and Aang, and a fight broke out. However, during the fight, Katara realized that they were in an orphanage and stopped the fight immediately. They were sent on their way, fed, and ready for their next adventure. One day when they were flying on Appa, Aang, Sokka, and Toph were giving Katara a hard time for being too soft, especially when compared to Toph, which offended Katara a great deal. Just then, fireballs started coming their way, and Katara was once again thrown off of Appa. She landed in a river and was about to go over a waterfall and hit a rock, but she formed a ball of ice around herself, which protected her as she bounced off the rocks around the waterfall. She ended up in a town that was blocked in by the Fire Nation, and when a Fire Nation soldier attempted to grab her, Katara knocked him out using her waterbending. This was seen by a group of pirates who recruited her for their mission, and the leader Zhang told her that they needed her skills if they were to make it past the Fire Nation guards. Before their mission, they met with a pirate, and the pirate said that he had heard of a waterbender stealing a waterbending scroll not too long ago, referencing the time Katara did that exact thing in Book 1. Katara, determined to act tough, shot an icicle at the pirate to shut him up. Katara didn't like the idea of taking stolen Earth Kingdom army supplies, and she and Zhang had a bit of an argument about it, but nevertheless, they pushed this aside and continued to work together. When boarding their ship, they were recognized by the Fire Nation, and Katara showed her true power. She took out every soldier on the dock, waterbended herself up to the ship, and took over a whole Fire Nation boat single-handedly when their boat was damaged and sinking. They boarded the boat that Katara had taken down and made their way down the river, and once again, Katara single-handedly took out another Fire Nation ship that was pursuing them, leaving a mess of destruction behind her, proving that she was in no way soft like her friends had said. When Katara saw one of the crates open, she was appalled that they were smuggling medicine, but she was in for a shock when they arrived at their destination and Zhang gave the medicine to sick kids, her only payment being flowers. Aang, Sokka, and Toph then arrived, and she told them about her adventure, proving to them that what they had said about her was way off. She was indeed tough. Before leaving, Zhang told Katara that she had a spot in her crew if she ever decided to stop helping the Avatar, which meant a lot to Katara. When the gang found themselves in a desert, Appa was kidnapped, and when they were confronted with his kidnappers, Aang got angry and went into the Avatar state. As everyone else ran, Katara stood there, saddened by how conflicted Aang was. She went over and took his hand, and she might have been the only thing that would have been able to pull him back down. She then held him as he cried tears of absolute devastation and sadness about Appa. The gang went to Ba Sing Se to find Appa, and after a few hiccups, they finally arrived, but only to find out that the city was corrupt and that they'd have to wait weeks to even see the Earth King, something that was vital as they had information that could defeat the Fire Nation during the eclipse in a few weeks. While in the city, Toph and Katara took a spa day, and when some girls made fun of Toph, Katara assured Toph that she was beautiful, and using her earthbending, Toph could tell that Katara was not lying and that she was being completely genuine about telling Toph that she was beautiful. One day while in the city, Katara saw Jet and slammed him against the wall because of their last meeting, but they eventually realized that Jet had been brainwashed and wanted to help. Going into his mind, Katara helped Jet see Lake Laogai, and the gang went down there to find Appa. While down there, however, Jet was badly injured, and Katara was reluctant to leave his side until Jet assured her that he would be okay. However, as Toph stated, he was lying, and that was the last time Katara saw Jet. The good news was that as they escaped, they were reunited with Appa. The gang eventually broke their way in to see the Earth King, only to find out that he knew nothing about the 100-year war. They gained his trust and told him about everything that was going on outside the walls of Ba Sing Se. He then gave a letter to Sokka and Katara that told them where to meet their dad, but Katara let Sokka go instead of her, and she stayed in Ba Sing Se. While in the city, Azula along with Mei and Ty Lee, who were disguised as Kyoshi warriors, ambushed her, and she was locked up with Zuko. While locked up together, the two of them bonded over losing their mothers to the Fire Nation, and Katara brought out the water from the spirit oasis that Pakku had given her, hoping that it would heal Zuko's scar, but they were interrupted when they were rescued by Aang and Iroh. Katara, now trusting Zuko, felt completely betrayed when he turned on her and took Azula's side in a huge fight. Aang ended up getting very badly injured in that fight, and they only escaped thanks to Iroh. Katara took out the Spirit Oasis water and healed Aang, literally saving him from death. Katara was reunited with her father when they met up with his fleet, and they were on board their ship for a while. Katara was very worried about Aang, and she did healing sessions on him every day, but it showed no results. Sokka then came up with a plan and they destroyed their boats, making the Fire Nation think that they were dead, and they went to a nearby island. While there, Katara refused to sit with her father by the fire despite the fact that she was freezing, because she was angry with him for leaving them all those years ago. When the Fire Nation found their wrecked ships and sent word that they were dead, they all went to hijack that Fire Nation ship. However, Katara told Toph that she shouldn't be there, but rather with Aang, but Toph told her that they needed her now and said that Aang would be fine. It was good that she was there because Katara ended up being a key factor in them taking over the ship, taking out whole squadrons of Fire Nation soldiers on her own. When they came up to the Fire Nation border, they discovered that everyone thought Aang was dead, and Katara was horrified to hear this news. However, Sokka explained that this was actually good, as they now had the element of surprise. After getting through, Katara continued to heal Aang, hoping and praying that he would wake up, and she documented all of this in her journal, which helped her cope with the many emotions she was feeling, both the negative ones toward her father and her worrying about Aang. Eventually, Katara's prayers were answered, and Aang finally woke up. Katara was so relieved until Aang ran away. She took her frustration out on her father, and though she was talking about Aang on the surface, she was really talking about Hakoda leaving them as kids. Hakoda apologized and hugged the crying Katara, telling her how much he missed her and Sokka, and this cleared the air between the two of them. Katara along with Sokka and Toph went to find Aang, and when they were reunited, they blended in the Fire Nation. During one of their stops, they found a depleted town ruled over by a Fire Nation factory, and it reminded Katara of her own depleted home in the south. She dressed up as the Painted Lady, a spirit that was sacred to the town, and this gave them hope, and eventually it drove the Fire Nation factory workers away, protecting the village. Afterwards, Katara was approached by the real Painted Lady spirit who thanked her for all she had done for the town. One day while in the Fire Nation, Katara and Toph went into a town and tried to enter a steakhouse, but they were denied, the bouncer saying that it wasn't a place for little girls. To get in, Katara came up with the idea to dress up as boys, and this allowed them to enter. While there, Toph told Katara that she had to work on her attitude to pass as a boy, and seconds later, Katara did just that, but maybe a bit too much when she bumped into someone and called him stupid. She then decided to ride a mechanical bull, and when she got thrown off, she crashed into someone and tried to pick a fight, but right when she was throwing a punch, Toph grabbed her and dragged her out. But as she was being dragged out, Katara continued to taunt the guy. When they got back, the two decided to stop acting tough and start acting like girls, and Katara showed Toph the good side of being a girl as they enjoyed the spa. While in the Fire Nation, Katara and Toph got into another argument, this time Toph saying that Katara wasn't their mother, and this made Katara very upset. But then she overheard a conversation between Toph and Sokka, where Sokka admitted that he no longer remembered what his mother's face looked like, because all he saw now was Katara's face. Toph then said that Katara acting like a mother meant a lot to her, as this was the first time someone cared about her this way and accepted the real her. Afterwards, Katara came up with a plan to hustle a lot of money, but it went wrong when Katara and Toph were locked up in a wooden cell and were bait to catch Aang. However, Katara ingeniously used her sweat to waterbend them out, and Team Avatar just narrowly escaped. Katara's life changed when she met Hama, a waterbender from the south. She taught Katara how to harness her ability, even taking water out of the air, but then she revealed her evil side and taught Katara bloodbending. Katara was forced to bloodbend Hama to save her friends, but afterwards, Hama's work had been done. She congratulated Katara on being a bloodbender, and Katara started crying, horrified by what she had just done. When the eclipse arrived, Team Avatar and many others, including Haru and his father, who Katara was very happy to see, invaded the Fire Nation when the eclipse took their bending away. Before taking off, Aang kissed Katara, which left her feeling confused and shocked. Unfortunately, the invasion was a failure because the Fire Nation knew it was coming. Katara was forced to say goodbye to her father again, as all the kids escaped and the adults gave themselves up as prisoners. The kids went to the Western Air Temple, and while there, Zuko approached them, saying that he wanted to join them and teach Aang firebending. And though the rest of the gang eventually trusted him, Katara did not, still uneasy after what had happened in Ba Sing Se. She threatened Zuko, saying that she was the first to trust him, and said that if he betrayed Aang the way he did to her, she would end him. One day while in the Western Air Temple, Katara walked in on Aang drawing a heart with each of their bending symbols in the middle, and he quickly erased it when she asked what he was doing. Katara told Aang that she had something very important to talk to him about, and Aang, thinking it was about the kiss before the invasion, got very excited. However, Katara merely wanted to have some fun and waterbended at him, and Aang got mad, but Katara did not notice because she was laughing so hard. She then shot more water at him, but Aang earthbended a rock fortress around him and said that he didn't feel like firebending. Katara went on to lecture him about how he had to be ready for the Fire Lord, but Aang threw her off when he mentioned their kiss. Katara, trying to avoid this conversation, said that she didn't know what he was talking about, and then said that she couldn't hear him through the rocks, and told him to come out and firebend. Aang then got even more mad and said that she couldn't handle things when it got too real. Katara then got mad and sent sharp icicles at the rock wall and said it wasn't about them, it was about preparing for the Fire Lord. Aang screamed at her and finally bended, making the rock fortress turn into a volcano and made it explode, forcing Katara to duck out of the way. Aang ran over and apologized, but Katara wasn't mad at all and said that he should practice that volcano trick more so he could show Zuko when he got back with Sokka. However, Aang had had enough and stormed off, and when Katara asked if he was scared of burning her again like he did back in Book 1, Aang replied saying that he was more worried about being the one who would get burned. Zuko finally gained Katara's trust when he helped her find and get revenge on the man who had killed her mother. Before leaving, Aang told her that revenge wasn't the way, but she didn't listen. It took them a while to find him, but when they did, Katara had a clear shot, but she pulled back at the last second, remembering what Aang had said. She told the man that he was pathetic, sad, and empty, and said that as much as she hated him, she just couldn't do it. After they returned, Katara hugged Zuko and thanked him, finally having full trust in him. During the intermission of a play, Aang and Katara had a serious conversation, Aang saying that he thought the two of them would be together after the kiss, but Katara told him that she was confused. Aang leaned in to kiss her anyway, and she got mad and stormed off, outraged that he would do that when she just told him how confused she was. When Sozin's comet arrived, Katara went with Zuko to face Azula, and Azula challenged Zuko to an Agni Kai, meaning Katara couldn't help. However, when Azula started to lose, she took a cheap shot at Katara. Zuko jumped in front of the lightning and took the blow to save Katara. Katara then defeated Azula and ran over to heal Zuko. As she watched Azula scream and cry pathetically, Katara turned away as it was too painful to watch. The war came to an end when Aang finally defeated the Fire Lord, and when Katara and Sokka were reunited with their father, they embraced lovingly. He told the two of them that he was the proudest father in the world, and said that their mother would be proud too. Katara watched very proudly as Zuko presented Aang during his coronation. Afterwards, when it was just Team Avatar and a few others, Katara realized that Aang was the one she wanted to be with, and she went to meet him outside. There, the two kissed, setting in stone their long-time relationship. They were interrupted, however, by Sokka, and Katara told her brother off for this. Over the next year, the two had a great relationship, though they were not too good about PDA. Team Avatar was broken up for a while, each member of the group doing their own thing, but almost all of Team Avatar formed again when Toph joined Katara, Aang, and Sokka on a mission to Yu Dao, where apparently Zuko had changed his mind about giving the Earth Kingdom colonies back to the Earth Kingdom. When they got there, Zuko grabbed Katara aggressively for going after his men, and this sent Aang into an Avatar state rage that Katara had to talk him down from. Katara got jealous one day when Aang's fan group swarmed him, and she got even more upset when one of the girls said it was an honor to meet Aang's first girlfriend. After spending the day with his fangirls, Katara was super annoyed, but she lightened up immediately when Aang thanked her and said how much it meant to him that she stayed by his side through the whole thing, and an embarrassed Katara said that she did not deserve the thanks for the jealous way she acted while they were there. When Katara and Aang met with the Earth King, Katara was shocked and angry when he decided to go to war with Zuko and the Fire Nation over Yu Dao. Katara and Aang went to Yu Dao before the attack, hoping to stop it peacefully, but a battle ultimately broke out when both armies arrived. During the fight, Katara realized that the four nations had to be separate. She was incredibly upset as she asked Aang what that meant for them, a waterbender and an airbender. Aang convinced her that they had a future together, and the two kissed passionately before Aang took off to end the fight. Katara then went up to the Earth King's hot air balloon and talked him down enough to have him visit Yu Dao. While down there, Katara and everyone else realized that the four nations could live and thrive together, themselves being proof of this, something that made Katara very happy and hopeful for the future. Not long after that, Zuko called Katara along with Aang and Sokka to help himself and Azula find their mother. They hit a few snags along the way, but they eventually found out from the Mother of Faces that the woman they had met early on in their mission was actually Ursa, Zuko and Azula's mother. On their journey, they also met a brother and sister from the Water Tribe who had been trying to get the Mother of Faces to give the brother his face back, and Katara was determined to help them. She and Aang were able to get the Mother of Faces to give the brother's face back, and the two siblings were very grateful. One day, Team Avatar went to celebrate an old Air Nation holiday, but when they got there, they found a factory that had taken over the sacred land. Working in that factory happened to be two old friends of Katara's from the Southern Water Tribe. While there, Katara and Sokka discovered an illegal underground mine next to the factory, and here they found out that Katara's old friends worked down there. They got mad at Sokka and Katara when they tried to rescue them, because to them, this was their job and the only way to live, and they told Katara and Sokka that not all of them were as lucky as they were to join the Avatar. The mine then collapsed, and they were all stuck down there. The only thing holding the structure up was Toph's metal bending and earth bending. When they got out, Katara immediately ran to Aang and gave him a kiss. Katara's old friends then thanked her for making her realize that working in the mine wasn't a way to live, and because of Katara, they now had a better life. Sokka and Katara agreed that they should go back to the Southern Water Tribe, and they headed back home for the first time since they had left to start their journey with Aang many years ago. When they got there, however, it was not what they expected. For one, the place was a huge city, with many buildings and more construction being built. But the biggest shock was that their father Hakoda had been elected to run not just their tribe, but all of the Southern Water Tribes. Katara, however, was not thrilled about the changes and construction going on, especially when she disliked Melina and Malik, the two in charge of the construction team that Katara had gotten into a fight with earlier. Katara was super excited to see Gran Gran again, and to her delight, Gran Gran and Pakku were now married and living their best life. Katara accompanied her father, Sokka, Melina, and Malik to dinner, and while there, Malik got his briefcase full of future plans taken from him. Katara and Sokka chased the thieves on a sled that Katara had made with waterbending, and this led them to a secret group plotting to overthrow the Southern Water Tribe, especially Hakoda, Katara's father, who they saw as a traitor. The group was determined not to let Katara and Sokka escape, but Katara's waterbending said something different, as she wiped out whole squadrons of people to get away. When they got back, Katara and Sokka walked in on their father kissing Melina, which was a great shock to both of them, and made Katara dislike Melina even more. To their delight, Toph arrived, and she came just in time for a fight to break out, and once again, Katara showed how skilled she was in combat. During the fight, it was revealed that Melina and Malik planned on taking what they wanted and were then going to ditch the Southern Water Tribe, basically just using them for their own personal gain. At the end of the fight, Hakoda was stabbed, but thanks to Katara's healing powers, he was alright. Katara blamed Melina for this, but Melina swore that she was going to drop all of this after falling in love with Katara's father. One morning, Katara helped Pakku in training the two little girls in waterbending, and she was happy to help out her now grandfather. Zuko and the Earth King arrived later that day to negotiate a few things, but during their meeting, they were once again confronted with the rebels, and the rebels kidnapped the Earth King. Luckily, Sokka came up with a plan to save him, but before the plan went down, Katara told Sokka that she was upset about all the changes in their home, but Sokka pointed out that maybe this change is good, and that this is what it's meant to be after the 100-year war. Sokka's plan worked, but the rope bridge that Hakoda and a few others were on was cut. When it looked like they had it under control, Melina lost her grip and began to fall. But Katara, finally accepting her and forgiving her, realized that she had to save her. She used her waterbending and caught Melina just in time. After all the chaos, Katara and Sokka visited their mother's grave, and Katara spoke to her mother, telling her that she finally accepted that the change in their home was good. She then proudly told the two little girls from Pakku's class about her mother's sacrifice to save her. That night, Katara and all those close to her ate a meal together, people and food from all different nations coming together as one. One day, the gang went to Cranefish Town, the place where the factory they had seen earlier was, and it was now a full city. While there, Aang and Katara went to an island right off the coast of the city, and the two had a deep conversation that led to Katara making Aang feel better. This island, little did they know, would eventually become Air Temple Island, where they would spend the best days of their lives together. That night while they were sleeping, a bunch of factories in the city were blown up, and when they found the culprits, they went to a secret meeting. While there, their cover was blown, and they had to fight their way out, and Team Avatar captured the group's leader. Katara got mad at Toph when Toph recommended that Aang take the leader's bending away, and this put Aang in a tough situation. When it came down to it, and the leader was captured and helpless, Aang went into the Avatar state, deciding whether or not to take her bending. Katara ultimately talked him down and made him realize that this was not the right thing to do. Katara and Aang decided to stay in Cranefish Town for a while, and over the next 20 to 25 years, they built Republic City and Air Temple Island. The two got married and had 3 kids, Bumi, a non-bender, Kaya, a waterbender who was named after Katara's mother, and Tenzin, an airbender. Katara continued to develop her skills in waterbending, eventually becoming a leading expert in its various styles and respective skills and techniques, as well as being regarded as the best healer in the world. She passed on these skills to her only daughter, Kaya, who became a renowned waterbender in her own right. One day, Katara wrote a letter to include in the book that Aang was assembling for Tenzin, and she wished her son the joys of youth and the strength to accept his legacy as one of the world's last airbenders. When Kaya came out of the closet telling her mother that she was a lesbian, Katara accepted her for who she was. Katara eventually became a grandmother when Tenzin and his wife Pema had 4 kids, Jinora, Ikki, Milo, and later on she would also have a grandkid named Rohan. Katara and Aang lived a long life together, starting a family and sharing their life experiences with each other. However, Aang eventually passed away, and when he did, Katara left Republic City and Air Temple Island, and she went back to the Southern Water Tribe. Here she met Aang's reincarnation Korra, and she helped train Korra in waterbending, meaning that Katara trained 2 different avatars. During one lesson, Korra covered Katara with snow, knocking her to the ground. Korra's parents came running out and apologized to Katara, but Katara was really cool about it, saying that she had faced much more dangerous waterbenders than Korra, and said that Korra would get the hang of it soon. As Katara left her lesson, Korra said that she was sorry for beating her up, which made Katara laugh, saying that she would see her tomorrow. Katara was also the reason why Korra was allowed to keep Naga, as she told Korra's parents that all avatars have had animal guides in the past, and that Korra has now met her own. Katara was by Korra's side as she grew up, not just as her waterbending teacher, but as a mentor. Katara oversaw Korra's firebending test, and when she was asked if she thought Korra was ready, she said yes. This led to Katara's son Tenzin coming to the Southern Water Tribe to take over Korra's airbending training, and Katara was delighted to see her son and grandkids. Tenzin unfortunately told Korra that he could not train her yet though, as he had to be in Republic City. Korra decided to sneak to Republic City in the middle of the night, and when she was caught by Katara, she thought she was about to get in trouble, but to her surprise, Katara approved of her going and the two hugged goodbye. Months later, Korra had her bending taken away by Aang, and she was brought to the Southern Water Tribe where Katara tried to heal her, but even Katara couldn't fix this. Luckily, Aang took over for Katara, and he helped Korra go into the Avatar state, which brought her bending back. Katara invited her oldest son Bumi to attend the Glacier Spirits Festival with her and the rest of their family. She and Kaya awaited the arrival of her sons at the dock, having a joyful reunion with her grandchildren. She later attended the royal banquet, sitting at a table with her family, where she looked on with concern as Tenzin was being picked on by his older siblings. The next day, Katara encouraged Tenzin to take his siblings along with him to his trip to see all of the air temples. She felt that the three siblings should visit Aang's birthplace together. Tenzin agreed to let his siblings join him and gave his mother a farewell hug, promising to see her soon. Before they all left, Katara gave Kaya an old picture of their family together while they were all still young. During the Water Tribe Civil War, Katara did not interfere between the two combating parties, believing her fighting days to be over, and instead, she helped tend to the injured rebels. When Jinora was trapped in the spirit world, they brought her spiritless body to Katara. Alarmed by how long Jinora had been in that state, Katara placed her granddaughter in a bath of water to heal her. Assessing the situation with her bending, she stated that she was unsure how much longer Jinora would be able to survive with her body and spirit separated, noting that Jinora was strong to have lasted this long. When Jinora's spirit later returned to her body, Katara happily embraced her granddaughter, so happy that she was alright. 5 weeks after the Red Lotus was taken down, Katara was visited by a still injured Korra and set out to heal her. Katara said that the mercury poisoning Korra had suffered had caused a lot of internal damage. Upon being asked if she could heal it, she said that all she could do was help guide the young Avatar's healing process, though the ultimate result was out of her hands. Reminiscing on the feeling of going through a traumatic experience, she told Korra that if she dedicated herself to getting better, she would recover stronger than ever. The two waterbenders set out on the hard process of recovery. Progress was slow, however, and after nearly 6 months, a frustrated Korra snapped at Katara for not being able to heal her. Katara tried to console her, stating that it was alright and urging her to let her anger and frustration flow like water. When Korra admitted that she was tired of the situation, Katara told her that she was not the first Avatar who had to overcome great suffering. She recalled how Aang felt about the destruction of his entire culture, but that he eventually made peace with it. She urged Korra to do the same and guided her to take her first steps again in a long time. Katara continued to help Korra over the next 2 years until she was physically fit again. Katara lived a very long life, and she sparked so much change and hope in her living years. She brought nothing but good things to the world. She's a fascinating and inspiring character, and that's very clear when breaking down her timeline like in this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. You can follow me on social media to see more of my personal life and more of this little dude. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe. I want to give a huge shout out to all my patrons listed below. If you want to be featured on the next video, plus get a bunch of other rewards, become a patron today. Again, thank you so much for watching, and look out for more great Movie Flame videos on the way.